Hello, welcome back to the lounge. Today is Thursday, May 3rd, and this is the first episode of Throwback Thursday where we're going to talk about things that have happened in history, not just in the cigar industry, but, in cultural and the world's history in general. So for today, I'll be smoking the Padron 1964 Anniversary Series number 35. Nice short smoke. I wanted to smoke something that kind of resembled the past a bit, and I know Padron released these obviously as an anniversary, celebration type thing. So I'm going to light this Padron up, and then we're going to get started onto the news stories that happened this week, not this year, not last year, but, throughout history. I'll go from something that I think is kind of cool all the way to like, man, this was really important, at least in our recent history. So strong cigar, as with Padrons. Consistency is very good. And so the first news story that happened this week in history is coming out of Hollywood. Now, all these facts and these articles are found on history.com. You could go to This Day in History and look up at, a plethora of things. I'm looking at things that happened here, like Clinton excludes Ho and Harnett from amnesty offer. I'm not going to talk about that. That was in 1776, so wow. That was another Clinton, not Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton, but another Clinton that was relevant in American history. So for the first one today, we're talking about a movie that was very dear to my heart when it came out. I remember seeing it in theaters. I remember seeing it at home, a bunch of times. I remember going to my grandpa's farm and sitting in the room that he had set up for us, and he had a DVD player on a TV, a VHS player actually. This was like mid 2000s, so still the era of DVD was becoming a thing. And so I used to watch Spider-Man, the first one with Tobey Maguire. And so the news story for this week is that Spider-Man is the first movie to top $100 million in the opening weekend. Now, the movie was directed by Sam Raimi, and it starred Tobey Maguire. And it eagerly awaited comic book adaptation. And it was the eagerly awaited comic book adaptation of Spider-Man. Yeah, it released Friday, May 3rd, so today, 16 years ago. And it quickly became the fastest movie ever to earn more than $100 million at the box office, raking in a staggering $114 million by Sunday, May 5th. That's crazy. I remember, and these movie series kind of died down a bit after the second one with, I don't even remember, to be quite honest. I remember the first one was against Green Goblin, the second one Dr. Octopus. That one was kind of and then the last one, of course, came out a couple years after the first one, and that one I remember was just a complete disaster. Obviously, after the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, we had, Andrew Garfield come in, and now we have, I don't even know, Tom Holland do the Spider-Man Homecoming. I haven't seen the Avengers yet, Infinity War. I heard, I don't know anything. My sister wanted to play around with me yesterday and tell me a couple things that happened in the movie because she saw it without me. I'm very, very mad that my brother and my sister went to watch it without me. But either way, I don't know what happens, but I know for a fact that Tom Holland, the new Spider-Man, is in this movie. And from everything I've seen on social media and heard on the news and other news outlets, it's a phenomenal movie, and I really need to make time this weekend to go and watch it. Maybe I'll just wait until it's on demand, Netflix or online or something. So the second one happened May 5th, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday? No, it is, so today's the 3rd, 4th, this was on Saturday, so 2 days from now. Back in 1963, this week, right? De qué? Oh, because you're listening. There's a video playing on the website at the same time. So this story happened quite a while ago, still when John F. Kennedy was president and everything. It happened right down here in Florida, and it is the first American goes into space. And so straight from history.com, Navy Commander Alan Shepard Jr. is launched into space aboard the Freedom 7 space capsule, becoming the first American astronaut to travel into space. The suborbital flight, which lasted 15 minutes and reached a height of 116 miles into the atmosphere, was a major triumph for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, otherwise known as NASA. And so I think this is really cool. It happened a long time ago, nonetheless. Still pretty relevant because space travel here in the U.S. and around the world we haven't really seen something, in our lifetime. The other day, I think the Falcon 9 or the Falcon Heavy, one of the two, launched into space. I remember sitting in my kitchen with my aunt who is into these crazy things, and I was watching the live stream from SpaceX as the ship launched. And right before it launched, my aunt came into the house, and I was like, look, you have to sit down, you have to see this. This is an iconic moment in, recent history. Like, we launched a self-guided rocket or spaceship into space. It launched the Tesla Roadster, Elon Musk's Tesla Roadster, launched it into space. And then it came back, and the two jets that propel, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I kind of get the grasp of what was going on. So the two rockets that propelled the ship into space landed back on Earth within a meter of where they were supposed to land by themselves. And so, I thought it was a great feat. Obviously, it was revolutionary because, as Elon Musk says, you don't ride a plane and then after you land in New York or Buffalo or wherever you're going, after you land, it doesn't just get thrown away. You reuse an airplane, and that's what they're trying to do with space travel now. They're trying to get reusable rocket launchers or whatever you want to call them. They're trying to get them reusable so that we could go to Mars and back and the moon and back and here and there and everywhere, travel around space. And I think it'd be really cool. I think we'll see it in our lifetime. I think Elon Musk says that we'll be on Mars by 2025 or 2030, something like that. Very excited. The other day I told my best friend, our 20s, because I'm 21, my best friend just turned 21, our 20s, the next 10 years of our lives. It's going to be amazing to see everything that happens, because with technology, not just the rocket and space travel, but, technology, VR, AR, just technology in general is advancing so fast, and I think it's going to be we have all these things going on. It's going to be a giant cultural shift, in my opinion, and it's just going to be fun to watch how it all goes down. I was too young to remember the internet boom. That was another cultural shift that was going on back then, and arguably it's still going on right now. That's why I'm doing this podcast, to get onto the internet and try and make a pillar for myself and the shop somewhere in the interweb of happenings. I think we have a customer coming in right now. Hey, what's up, man? What's going on?
All right, buddy. Bueno.
All right, so the fun thing about filming in the shop is that you never know when people are going to walk in, and he didn't stay to watch, but if you're here watching and you want to come in and see us record one of these podcasts, you're more than welcome to come and have a cigar with us. So I was talking about space travel. It's going to be very cool the next 10 years. And either way, let's go on to the next news story, which happened. And I remember this one clearly. The first one, when Spider-Man came out. I remember watching the movie. I didn't realize what a big deal it was, how much money they made. I didn't understand that much, I think, at that time. Then, obviously, I wasn't around when the first man went into space from America or the U.S. But this one, I remember very clearly. I was in my room at night, and out of nowhere, just the news started getting very, very serious, very toned. I felt the entire atmosphere, felt like the universe was calming down for a little bit, because something big was on the verge of being told to us, that something had happened. And I remember sitting in my room watching the news, and Obama coming out on May 2nd. So it was actually yesterday. I remember Obama coming out May 2nd, it was like 10 o'clock at night, and telling us in 2011 that Osama bin Laden was killed by the U.S. forces on a surprise attack on a compound he had been staying in. And so History.com says, on this day in 2011, Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks in the United States, is killed by U.S. forces during a raid on his compound hideout in Pakistan. The notorious 54-year-old leader of Al-Qaeda, the terrorist network of Islamic extremists, had been the target of nearly a decade-long international manhunt. Very big deal. I remember it happening, and it just ushered a new wave of Islamic terrorism. Now we got ISIS, and we have smaller packs of them coming together, but killing, slicing the head off the serpent. Yo, what's up, my man? No, it's okay. It's too late. You can come in. What's going on? So, interrupted by my good friend Johnny. He walked in. He's the manager at Louis. Now he's sitting here at the couches watching us do this podcast live. Either way, the Osama killing and assassination, whatever you want to call it, very impactful. I remember that atmosphere that day of the USA chants in front of the White House. It was just a very special moment seeing the head of the serpent that had created all the chaos in our lives in the early 2000s finally be put to rest. And although it didn't change much, because obviously now we have ISIS and all these other Islamic terrorist groups, it makes us feel good that the person behind all those murders and the mass amount of despair and distraughtness that was created that day finally end. And so those are the 3 news stories for today. 3 things that I thought were, somewhat important, special, dear to my heart. Spider-Man being the first movie to reach 100 million opening weekend. The first American goes into space, and now Osama bin Laden was killed by the U.S. All in all, this week seemed to have, I'll give you some more. Joseph McCarthy dies during the Cold War. George Bush forms commission on Social Security. U.S. ships sunk in Saigon port, and allies argue over U.S. troops joining battle on Western Front. I'm not going to go deep into into those news stories, but those are things that happened this week in history. Thank you much for tuning in, staying till the end, and if you like what we had to say, you can follow us on Instagram at Gable Cigars, or you can subscribe to the YouTube channel and see what else we have in store for you today or this week and in the future. Tomorrow we have Friday's favorites. Not going to tell you the cigar. You'll have to watch the video to find out which cigar we're talking about. And then Saturday, we have Social Saturdays. We paired up with an influencer on Instagram. She has like 16,000 followers. And we'll be doing a little interview session with her over at Small Tea and Company. And so thank you for tuning in. If you like what we had to say, again, follow us on Instagram at Gable Cigars. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on the podcast, subscribe to our channel on there. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow for Friday's favorites.